Every family has them. Some secrets can keep a family together, while some can rip them completely apart. For their family, there was one secret, a major one that revolved around their grandfather. They all knew what he did for a living, but he never really shared the details with them. He was always someone fun to be around and very charismatic, until one day, he wasn't. Something had happened, something horrible, but he refused to talk about it. He seemed to change. After the passing of the boy's beloved grandmother, his grandfather was never the same. He would murmur creepy stuff to himself, stuff like,
"We're all next."
Or,
"To keep them safe, keep them away."
The boy's parents, thinking they were protecting him, just stopped taking him over there for visits. It wasn't until after the father hung up from a late-night call that he said,
"His health, he's not doing well."
That was when the decision was made to travel back to where his grandfather lived, a small town called 𝗵𝘂𝗵𝗶. While several years had passed, and the boy had grown up going to 𝗵𝘂𝗵𝗶, his last memory of it was tainted. He remembered seeing his grieving grandfather standing alone next to his wife's grave. He refused to speak to anyone, but when he did, he just kept repeating the same thing.
"To keep them safe, keep them away."
That was the last time that the boy saw him, until today. The drive to 𝗵𝘂𝗵𝗶 was a long one. The roads wound around the tall forest trees, and the boy thought,
"These must be the tallest trees in the world."
The town was home to the local paper mill, and the smell of sulfur would seep into the car vents when the car got closer to the entrance of this tiny place. As the car turned down the main road, it drove by a "Welcome to 𝗵𝘂𝗵𝗶" sign that once stood proud, but now was peeling and covered in withered ivy. As they pulled onto the pebbled driveway of his grandparents' house, the boy was shocked at how old and deteriorated it had become. It used to be painted bright yellow with a decorative blue trim, with beautiful pink and yellow hydrangeas planted along the pathway. It was always meticulous and kept looking idyllic by caring hands. But now, it seemed almost unrecognizable. The once pristine yard was dirty and littered with overgrowth, and the beautifully painted home was now in shambles. Everything changed the day his grandmother died. The boy stepped onto the rickety porch and attempted to peer into the front window of the living room. His eyes searched for the familiar yellow couch with the butterfly blanket that once laid across it. But his sight was blocked by dingy lace curtains that now were drawn shut. Unsure of what to expect once inside, his hand reached slowly for the broken handle on the front door. He was filled with excitement to see his grandpa, but quickly became distracted by the loud, harsh cawing coming from the black crows that had perched themselves on the wrought iron gates of the cemetery. As he turned towards them, he remembered how his family rarely spoke of that place. That cemetery that had been there for as long as he could remember, now the gates had been bound by a padlock with chains and covered in dead, withered vines. The sight of the gates gave the boy a sudden chill that raced up and down his spine. He had been told stories of his grandpa's employment there, but it was never shared just how loyal he actually was to that place. With the boy standing at the front door, he gave a quick knock and a gentle push in order for it to open. He stepped inside to the stale smell of pipe tobacco that filled the room. That smell quickly brought the boy back to his previous visit some time ago. A smile started to grow on his face as he called out for his grandfather.
"Hey, Grandpa, where you at?"
From the back of the house, a weak voice responded.
"Aiden, is that you, boy?"
Aiden headed towards the shallow voice, and as he entered the old man's bedroom, he could tell that time was not on their side. His smile slowly began to fade as he sat on the bed next to his grandpa. Aiden reached for the old man's hand and said,
"Looks like your front door's broken, Grandpa."
while leaning in to gently kiss the old man's forehead. With labored breath, the old man responded.
"Yeah, not sure I can fix it, son. This old body don't work like it used to."
The old man attempted to shift his weakened frame in the bed, but it went unnoticed as Aiden's gaze shot towards the wooden-framed window overlooking the neighboring cemetery. The young teen was deeply focused on the derelict gates and began walking towards the window for a closer look.
Those gates,
As he looked over his shoulder,
they're like covered in so much dirt and dead grass. You weren't there, right? I remember that place had always been creepy, but now it's...
Yeah. Time has not been good to that cemetery, or me for that matter. I tried to keep that place going, but sometimes things aren't as they seem. All I ever wanted was to protect us. All of us.
tears began to swell in his darkened eyes, as if the memories of that cemetery and his time there rushed back. Aiden saw the anguish in his grandfather's eyes and started to ask what happened, but his questions were quickly cut off by the angered old man.
Stay away. You hear me? Swear to me, Aiden. You won't go there, please. Just swear.
The grandfather shouted as loud as his body would allow. Aiden, wanting to understand what had made his grandpa so scared that the old man began to shake.
Okay, Grandpa. I won't. I mean, what really happened? Did the dead come after you or something?
This ain't a joke, boy. There are things that happen there. Frightening things. Things no one would believe unless they saw it for themselves.
The boy paused his questioning as his young mind raced with ideas. Aiden walked back towards the corner of the bed, and with a genuine curiosity, he asked,
Grandpa, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make you mad. Can you tell me what happened there?
I'll tell you, but only if you really want to know. But please listen to me, son. I've never shared this with anyone, not even with your grandma. I wanted to protect you, all of you. So just please, I beg you to stay away from there.
With ragged breath, Grandpa began to tell of his story, a story that had been hidden within himself for years.
It was summer 1955, I think. Forgive me, my memory ain't so good anymore. I do remember needing a job, one to support your grandma and I. That's when I saw an ad in the local newspaper. It said, Owlmouth Cemetery, looking for a hard-working groundskeeper to care for the property. So, I applied. There was only one owner of the place, and after a brief meeting with him, he gave me the job. First, I was told to just pick up fallen branches, keep the grass nice, you know. Then, I was asked to help out with funerals. I didn't have a clue what I was doing, but I'm a real fast learner, your grandma would say.
Aiden inched closer as he listened with intent.
The owner never really spoke much, but one day in late September, he came to me. He asked me to get the grounds ready for an upcoming funeral. I did as I was told and started digging the site.
The grandfather gestured towards his glass of water sitting on a nearby nightstand. Aiden reached for the glass and held it for the old man as he took a sip. The old man settled back into his blankets and continued his story.
I was about 16 feet down when that unusual noise started. The noise, it trembled through the dirt. It was like a weird growl or something. I never heard of anything like it. The growling, it got louder and more intense, as if whatever it was right there. My heart's starting to beat right out of my chest, Aiden. I grabbed my tools and scaled back to the top. I just started to run. I had to find the boss and tell him what had happened, but he just brushed me off and said, "Oh, Sam, I know it's hot out today, but I think your mind is playing tricks on you." That next day, as the funeral service came to an end, The boss pulled me aside and said not to lower the body until nightfall.
The old man's gaze seemed to drift off, as if his mind was back at that very moment.
The moon, it shined so bright that night. I started to lower the body into its final resting place. And then that sound, that horrid sound, it came back. The ground was shaking and the growling. My curiosity just kept calling, and eventually it got the best of me. I had to see what or where that sound was coming from. So I slid back down into that grave. With my flashlight in hand, I saw something. Something awful, Aiden. I just can't seem to...
The old man's face froze with fear.
Its teeth were so sharp as razors, and its claws, well, they had ripped flesh, ripped human flesh dangling from them. That thing, that creature was so focused on that dead body that I don't think it even noticed me.
The grandpa grasped at his sheets with his bony fingers as he spoke of his horrifying moment.
It ripped right through that wooden casket. It tore into the body with its nasty teeth. Its claws ripped the flesh from the bone, and it just devoured it. It let out a horrifying roar, so loud that it echoed everywhere around me. Then, in a blink of an eye, grabbed the rest of the body and dragged it down with it.
The old man stared blankly out the window as he let out a sigh.
I won't ever forget how it tore through that body. It was like a hot knife through butter.
With fear in his eyes, Aiden looked towards his grandpa and urged him to share more. The grandfather, reluctant to continue with his secret, felt a sense of relief in sharing with the young teen. But he also noticed they both felt that same fear.
I was so scared, I just ran. I had to find the boss. When I found him and told him what happened, he looked me square in the face with panic and said, "We gotta feed them, Sam. The flesh eaters. If we don't, they'll come for us, our families. We have to do this." I thought that man was crazy, but when he said to me, "They know you and won't let you leave," I knew there was no way out. I had to stay. I just wanted to protect my family. I was so confused and scared. I didn't know what else to do. Knowing my fate, I decided to stay on. Those poor bodies, and what happened to them, it's all my fault. I mean, this went on for years. I kept up the grounds and looked after that one gravesite. That one deep, dark hole in the ground, isolated from the rest. That's where they came from. They always came from that one spot.
The man shivered as he tugged for his covers again. Aiden stood up from the bed that his grandpa was now bound to and stepped over to the window. As his voice trembled, he asked,
"Well, what happened to your boss?"
Gathering his composure, the grandpa said,
He lived in fear of those things. The flesh eater is what he called them. But eventually, he died, son, of a sudden heart attack. He was all alone. No one called for him. No one came to pay their respects. So, I did what I thought was right. What I had done for years. I lowered his body into the one place he spent most of his life protecting. And like clockwork, they came. I stood just a few inches away while the roars of those ferocious creatures echoed from below. His flesh ripping, and the crunching of his bones was so deafening I couldn't hear myself think. After that day, I swore I'd never speak of 𝗵𝗂𝗵𝗶 and what happened there. I put a lock on that damn front gate, and I haven't gone over there since.
The grandfather tried to push himself up onto his elbows and then pleaded with the teenage boy.
You gotta keep this secret, Aiden. Please, you can't tell anyone. You hear me, damn it? And just stay away from there.
He sank back onto his bed, reeling from exhaustion.
Grandpa, relax. Your secret's safe with me. I'll stay away. Don't worry. Now get you some sleep.
Later that night, the teen was filled with curiosity. Curiosity of what had drove his grandpa to act the way that he did. What happened over there that forced his grandpa to lock the gates, to hold on to his secret for so many years? There was something pulling at him to go see with his own 2 eyes, just like his grandpa had mentioned to him earlier that day. So, he decided to go against his ill grandpa's warnings, and he snuck out through the front door while his grandpa lay fast asleep. He kept looking back over his shoulder in fear of being caught, but he made the decision to head straight to the locked gates of the cemetery. Under the moon that shone brightly overhead, he squeezed himself through a broken slat in the gate. The lone dirt mound that his grandpa had told him about still sat next to the open, unmarked grave. This had to be the site that his grandpa had mentioned to him. The teen began to creep closer to the dark hole, and then his toes began to slip. They started to slip on the softened grass that surrounded the opening. Aiden began to fall deep into the darkness. With a resounding thud, he found himself lying on the red clay dirt floor, surrounded by walls 16 feet high. Aiden shook his head to find clarity of what had just happened. As he looked around in shock, he started to scream out.
Hello? Anyone? Please, somebody. Help! I'm stuck down here!
There was silence that surrounded him, and with no one responding to the teenager's cries,
Help!
he continued to scream. Still, no one came. Panic started to build in the boy as he rushed towards every corner of the dank gravesite, hoping to find a way out of this nightmare. He slammed his fist into the muddy wall, searching for a way out, yet there wasn't one. Then, an unusual sound was heard. It started out as a low vibration from deep within the earth. Then the growling started to fill the empty space of the grave. Not knowing where the sound was coming from, Aiden backed himself into a crevice within the rooted earth. The growls grew increasingly louder as someone or something was moving closer towards him.
Help!
As the growling grew, so did the boy's panicked breath.
Help!
He screamed out again, but still, no one came. Pushing itself through the rooted vines of the walls, razor-sharp claws appeared. The boy, with his sweat-drenched face and clammy hands, started to dig his way up the dirt embankment. His agonizing screams continued to echo into the night. The flesh-eater revealed itself from beyond the thorny vines, and with its ferocious teeth covered in human flesh, let out a horrifying roar. And then there was silence. No more screams from the boy. No more roars of the flesh-eater. Just silence. Some secrets die with us. Others drag us down.